Today I'm at Porsche Santa Clarita for their monthly Cars and Coffee event, but this is not just a Cars and Coffee. This is a very special meeting. One of our authors at Carrara Books, Kevin McCauley, who authored and photographed Waiting for the Sun to Come Down, is debuting a film here, which is very, very cool. He's the director and producer of Rare Shades, which is a series of films made in partnership with 000 magazine, covering rare shades of Porsche colors. So this is the official Southern California screening of Rare Shades based on Birch Green, which is an extremely rare Porsche color from the 70s. Porsche Santa Clarita is cool because it's obviously a Porsche dealership, but it's also become a hub of car culture here in Southern California. And it's almost like it was designed like that from day one. Doing things like this film screening just ties them in closer with the car community. So I'm very excited to check out. Let's go see what it's about. One of the great things about this Porsche dealership is that, yes, of course, it's a dealership and they sell cars here, but there's also like these little experiences built in to the entire place. So first of all, there's not just new cars on display. There are older cars, you know, classics from the Porsche catalog, and then other cars that are clearly inspired by what's going on in culture right now. So there's a car over here with rotiform wheels on it, and there are other cars that are, you know, heavily customized, and so it's not your typical stuffy dealership experience. And even at this show here, there's a wide variety of cars. It's not only Porsches. As I look outside right now, there's RX-7s and NSXs and Civic Type Rs. There's a chopped roof Barracuda for some reason. There's an R33 Skyline GTR outside. So there's a lot of different styles and makes of cars that are welcome here. And so they're inviting in the community in that way. And then the building itself, there's a very welcoming atmosphere in here. And then cool surprises like this glass floor that gives you a peek down into the, well, a surprise. As we come into the basement here, you can immediately tell this is not your average dealership experience. It's a certified museum. There is an incredible collection of classic Porsches down here. Lots of plaques and historical items and documents and artifacts from Porsche history. So it really invites you to learn about the brand and experience what it's all about, from motorsports heritage to special one-off cars and custom jobs that have really added to, you know, the Porsche brand over all these decades. A couple of months ago, actually, they had Nakai-san from RWB come and do a full build here in the basement. So they're not turning their backs on what's going on in car culture today, but also throughout all of Porsche culture. That seems like a distinct departure from the typical dealership experience, where you're inviting in the public to learn about your brand in all of its cool ways, not just what's come straight from the factory, but how they were raced and famous owners over the years, and see technical drawings from the factory, and then build your own cultural moments here too, whether it's with Cars and Coffee or an RWB build or a film screening. They are really leaning into the museum aspect of this dealership museum, which is pretty cool. And so to have one of our authors in Kevin be invited here to, you know, screen his latest film at this place feels really special. Kevin was one of our first authors. Waiting for the Sun to Come Down really pushed us in terms of what we had produced before and what we had published into the market. So I'm very proud of that book, and it's really awesome to see Kevin come into LA for a weekend, get to screen his film here. That's a real point of pride that we're working with authors who are contributing back to car culture in lots of different ways. It doesn't just begin and end with, you know, the publishing of their book. This is really what they're all about. The book is just a small part of what they're trying to give back. Hansel from Leen Customs right here. And you guys show at this Cars and Coffee pretty regularly with the pins, yeah?
Yeah, here and there, for sure. Especially when we do collaborative projects. That's usually when we'll come out and do a pop-up and all that.
And it's pretty weird to have you guys exhibit at a dealership and have like this level of like excitement and cultural like community at a dealership.
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly how they changed the game, because before this, like, when do you go to a car meet at a dealership? Like, I don't think that was ever, maybe it's been done before, I don't know, but this was definitely the number one place for us to be like, yo, we gotta be here, we gotta pop up, and just what they've grown, man. I remember the first one, massive. Obviously, it's end of the day now, it's pretty much gone and empty, but dude, the crowd starts at 9, people here at 7.
It gets rowdy too.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, 100%.
Hansel just did the pins, the Volkswagen Beetle pins for our Voces Unidos project. That came out amazing, dude.
Yes,
thank you so much for all that.
Of course.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys here.
Yeah, of course.
What's funny about this location is I actually grew up in this neighborhood right down the street. So I'm very familiar with this area. That is the Applebee's that my family would go celebrate special occasions at. That is the Barnes & Noble that I would come and read books for hours and hours. And so this was a Saturn dealership. So it was not the coolest place on the block when I was growing up. And so to see what it's turned into now is pretty remarkable. I would have loved for this to have existed when I was a kid. But I'm glad that there are kids now who get to come here and learn about cars.
This is the third and final screening of Rare Shades Birch Green. We had one at the Rare Shades event in New York, in Queens, a couple weeks ago. We screened it last week outside of Seattle with the PCA Northwest region, and then this is the final one here in Santa Clarita. And then it goes online on Tuesday. We had a good crowd, a lot of enthusiasm and good questions, and yeah, it was a packed house here, so it was great. The reaction to the whole series has been really incredible. A lot of people have an emotional reaction to color, and a lot of people have engaged with it on that way, or they say that they don't think that they'll enjoy a 25-minute film about just one color, but there's so much to it and sort of substance to these stories that we're trying to tell that I think people come away like, wow, I learned something and that was entertaining and fun. This series, they're absolutely about the people and not necessarily just about the rarity of the color. It's about finding the compelling character, the story there, and then, you know, building something around it. And having a special car and color, you know, makes it better, but that's not where we start. I think all of the video work I've done, but especially the Rare Shades films, are kind of like a culmination of like my whole career of trying to tell stories and capture beautiful imagery and even my graphic design background. So it's putting all of that together to tell a story in this long form way that that resonates with people. You know, it's an image. You take one photo and you know, someone's not necessarily going to stare at it for a very long time. They might scroll past it, but the video, you kind of can lock people in and have their attention and hold it, hopefully. And that's really exciting about this. This has been a great trip to LA. Very brief, but I'm really glad I made it out here for this. If you come around to the rear, I think my favorite is just this tail and just the shadows created by this spoiler. And this is a really unique spoiler because it's the early whale tail. You know, the whale tail gets attributed to a lot of different spoilers, like the T-tray and turbo spoiler and everything, but this is the original whale tail where you've got the grill coming down and then the tail section coming out, and you've got the rubber on the end, and it creates cool shadows underneath it, and it's a lot of fun to capture. And I love these shapes, just kind of how the form is. If you bring that up a little, if you kind of like this ribbing, just kind of creates some cool highlights and shadows.
Well, that's it for our time at Porsche Santa Clarita today. Congratulations to Kevin and the Rare Shades team for this awesome film screening, and for Porsche Santa Clarita for opening up their doors. If you want to buy Kevin's book, Waiting for the Sun to Come Down, or any of our other car books, go to carrarabooks.com. Keep watching for more car culture content, and I'll see you guys next time.